Hey guys, Lee with LG Speed and Custom here. We're back on the 32 again in this video. We are going to start doing some body and paint work on the dash. Did a video a while back where we did all the metal work and restored the metal on the dash, but now it's time to make it look nice. I want to paint it even though the rest of the car is nowhere near ready for paint, because my priority right now is to get this car roadworthy and on the road. And as we're assembling stuff and wiring and putting gauges and stuff in, I don't want to do all that on a bare metal dash and then have to take it back apart again to paint it. So we're going to paint everything now, and that way when stuff goes in, it goes in for good and we don't have to take it out again. So let's pull this dash out, put it on the bench, mix up some body filler, and start smoothing out all the imperfections on it. So here's our dash all set up on a little stand here. I'm going to body work this in 3 sections, I think. I think we're going to do the main piece here, then we'll do this little insert here, and then do the ends last. For body filler, I am using some Evercoat Rage Gold. No particular reason, it's just the brand that I've always liked and used. We got our little mix piece up here where we mix the filler up on. You can use, I use the metal spatula guy. You can use plastic ones as well. We've got some gun wash here that we're going to dump in here with a little Scotch-Brite, and we'll use that to clean this up after. So I'll give that a little wipe down with some wax and grease remover to make it all nice and clean, and then we'll mix up some filler and apply it. This is wax and grease remover. It just does exactly what it says. Cleans the wax and grease and residue off. Should always wear gloves when you're doing this, because it's not good for your skin. So I'll put gloves on for the next time. I'll put them on twice. Bam, nice and clean. Well, as clean as it's gonna get. We'll let that air dry, and then apply some body filler. For those regular viewers that have been watching the 32 Ford build since the beginning, you know, we basically covered all this when we did the body and paint work on the chassis. But for those new, or for those that need a refresher, or those that have never done body filler before, it's pretty straightforward. You've got your body filler, and then you've got your hardener. So they say it's supposed to be a ratio of like, I think 1 to 4 or something, but that doesn't matter because it changes for your environment. If it is hot out, you want less. If it's cold out, you want more. If you want it to set up fast, you add more. If you want it to set up slow, you add less. Sometimes it's really hot and you want it to set up slow, and you add less and less, and then realize you didn't put enough and it didn't kick off. So we are going to go probably about that much. We'll mix this up nice and thorough. You don't want any streaks in it. You want it to be one uniform color. This stuff kind of turns green because that's what happens when you mix yellow and blue, but they make different colors hardeners and different color body filler. Color means absolutely nothing. As far as I know, the blue hardener and red hardener both harden. And there's green body filler, or I guess yellow. This is yellow body filler. There's blue body filler. There's gray body filler. As far as I know, the color is irrelevant. All right, I think that's mixed as good as it needs to be. No streaks, we're just one uniform green color. Let's go put it on the dash now. So when you apply this stuff, you gotta, let me pull a stool over here to set this on. When you apply body filler, you gotta keep in mind that you gotta sand it. So try to make it nice and smooth. Don't get big, like we got this big ridge right here. You don't wanna leave that because that is going to be a nightmare to sand. You want to apply it as smooth as you can. This spatula is just a little bit too big for this actually, but it's the only one I got right now, so we'll make it work. We're just going to give the whole thing kind of a skim coat. So I said I was only going to do just this section and do that piece and those pieces later, but I had enough body filler left over. So it's, instead of wasting it, I might as well use it. While that is curing, let's go clean this up. I'm going to take a little bit of gun wash. Just dump it in there. We don't need much because we're not doing a lot of body work today. When I used to do body work daily, this thing was just always filled. You want to do this, obviously, before it hardens on there, because it just comes right off at this point. This is just an old Scotch-Brite pad in there. Nice and clean. There we go, ready for round 2. So you don't want this to get rock hard. You want to get it to the point where you can it's kind of a rubbery feel. And from there, we're going to take some 40 grit and just kind of knock the big stuff off. We're almost even a little bit too fresh right now. The reason why you want to do this is because it's very, very easy to sand right now. If you let it get rock hard, it sucks to sand. So when they call this still green, when it's nice and green still, you can knock down the high spots really fast. Okay, I think I'm actually going to ditch the block, which I know is probably going to outrage a lot of people, but the block's a little bit too big for in here. And we just want this smooth. We don't need it to be laser straight because it's just a dash. It's not like it's a 8-foot long quarter panel on the side of a black big slab-sided car or something. 62 Lincoln. We just want the pits to go away. Okay, I'm gonna just work at this, switch it to time lapse, and we're just gonna sand it until it's smooth. All right, so we've got our first coat done on here. We're gonna have to give it one more coat. We need a little bit more up in this area. If you'll remember when we were doing the metal work on this dash, it looked like somebody had beat this inside part from the backside forward with like a ball peen hammer or something. So I got it, pretty smooth in the hammer and dolly stage, but it's obviously not perfect yet. And when I was applying down here,
I didn't focus up here as much as I should have on the first round, which is no big deal. We'll just hit it one more time. A couple other little spots that need just a little bit of a touch up. So we'll hit it one more time, sand it, and then see how it's at, or see where we're at. Well, I gave it another coat, and that got it definitely a lot better than it was. I've gone over it one more time with a little bit of guide coat and some 80 grit. I found this little piece of exhaust tubing that, when wrapped up, is the correct contour for that little inside radius there. So it's not perfect yet, but I have the secret sauce that's going to make it perfect. And that secret sauce is Polyester Surfacer. This is extremely high build. It's basically like spray on body filler. And that's what we're going to use to finish this thing off. Its specialty is filling in, like you see, all these minor pits that we still have here. The ones that were, they're a little bit too small for body filler, but still too big that they're going to show up if you just use regular high build primer. But with that Polyester Surfacer, it will fill that all up. It'll also fill in any, like you can see, we got a little spot that we missed there. This isn't 100%. It's probably at like 70% right now. So that will take care of the rest of that. So I'm going to mix some of that up now. It mixes up with hardener, kind of same idea as like body filler. It doesn't use like a mix, well, I shouldn't say a mix in because it still mixes in, but it comes in like a little tube, the same as like body filler does. So we're gonna mix some of that up, and then we'll set this up outside. It's a nice warm day today, so we'll mix this up and spray it on. I use a special gun to spray this on. It's like a normal primer gun, except for it's got a monster tip, a 2.4 millimeter tip. Also good for spraying metal flake, by the way. But yeah, that's like a fire hose, and it's gonna just fire hose all that Polyester Surfacer on here. We'll let it dry, and then it'll sand it, and it'll make a nice smooth surface.
Okay, we're ready to mix some stuff up here. We've got our mix cups. We've got our hardener. So for every quart, use half an ounce. We're probably gonna mix up like half a quart, so we'll use a quarter of an ounce. We've got this guy. This was a gift from a fan a while ago that was watching me struggle with pouring paint out. So this is supposed to eliminate that. I think I'm doing it right. What's it say? Start here, push down on the inner edge of the lip with your thumbs. Like this, I think. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I think I'm doing this right. This is supposed to stop the paint from going everywhere when you pour it out. All right, that looks right. So what I say we want half a quart, right? So let's fill that up to the 4. Wow, this thing works really good. I wish I would have known about this like decades ago. All right, there's our half a quart. You know what I don't have? Paper towel. Cool, 10 out of 10 on this product. Works awesome. All right, I'm gonna leave this as is in case we gotta mix more up. I'm hoping that this should be enough for like 3 or 4 coats. Okay, that should be about a quarter, a little more just for good measure. Now we've got the Mike Jones Paints Mix Stick. Let's mix this up nice and thorough, and we'll pour it in the gun. Go outside and spray. It's a little bit cold. It's the end of December right now.
This stuff, it says that it's supposed to be sprayed around 70 degrees. It is 12 degrees Celsius right now, which is very warm for December. That translates over to like about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a little cold for that. But the dash has been inside forever. So it's at room temperature. So I think we'll be okay. I sprayed colder and it was fine. Just takes a little bit longer to dry. And obviously, as soon as we're done spraying, we'll bring it back inside so that it warms up. All right, grab our respirator and head outside.
Okay, we're all set up outside here. The first thing we're going to do is just give it a nice light coat for starters, and then once it tacks up, we can come back and give it a little bit of a heavier coat. I'm going to do the body filler areas first, just because it kind of soaks it up a little bit. And then, yeah, start with the body filler, then give the whole thing a light coat, and then hit it heavy. Okay, we'll let that sit for a couple minutes and then come back and hit her hard. All right, now I'm going to hose it on a lot heavier so that it fills all those little pits and imperfections. We'll let that sit again and then hit it hard one more time. We've still got about that much left.
We've got 4 really heavy coats on there, and that has buried so many little imperfections. So we'll let this sit for probably a day, and then we'll start block sanding it out. Well, this sat the rest of the day yesterday and then overnight. It's now the next morning. So we're going to start sanding it. This polyester surfacer, there's like 2 ways you can do it. It shrinks, meaning like the longer that it sits and dries, the more it shrinks. So if you're going for something that's like, you know, like we were talking about earlier, a quarter panel on a 62 Lincoln that you're painting black, you know, I would spray the polyester surfacer on and then let it sit for couple weeks maybe to let it fully cure and shrink. But the downside to that is the longer you let it sit, the harder it gets, much like body filler, meaning the less fun it's going to be to sand. So because this is not a quarter panel, this is a dash that's going to get painted a relatively light color. You know, I'm not super concerned about it shrinking. So we're going to start sanding it today. The first thing we're going to do is give it a nice coat of guide coat. This is like a charcoal powder that you rub on just like that. And what that does is it, you know, it's your guide, exactly like it says. It tells you what areas need to be sanded still, what areas are sanded well enough,
basically, you know, rub it all on like we're doing here, and as you're sanding, it sands off. If you got a low spot, it's gonna stay. If you got a pit, it's gonna stay in the pit until it's sanded thoroughly, like the pit is sanded out. Got a little block. Not going to be able to block a lot of this, but, you know, like I said, it's a dash, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. But the areas that we can block, we might as well. So this area up here was heavily pitted. I didn't do any body filler on that, just nailed it with the polyester surfacer. So now we can just start blocking it out. You can see the guide coat really working here. You can see all the pits and stuff. So it goes on, that surfacer goes on really thick. So we might be able to sand all those out. This little area right here you can see is coming along pretty good. All the little black pits are just about fully sanded out. That's what we're looking for. So, and this is probably going to take a few hours to sand, so I'm not going to let you guys sit here and suffer with me. So I think we'll switch it to time lapse now, and you can watch me sand really fast. This is all sanded. I made up a little block here to do all this area here, which worked out really, really nice. So it's all in 180 grit right now. It's not perfect. This is not show car perfect. You can see, like, if we get right in here, you know, we still got a little nick there and a little pit there and a little pit there. I'm not really concerned about that though, because the dash is gonna sit in the car this way, and that's all gonna be on the underside in the shadows. Same with this area down here, like that's the bottom edge of the dash. It's fine for what I'm doing. We're not building a show car, we're just fixing up an old hot rod. It is like 99% better than it was when it was in the car the first time. This area here, remember how pitted that was? That came out really nice. So because it's in 180 grit right now, we gotta hit it with guide coat one more time and sand it again. Because if we paint over this right now, all those 180 grit scratches are gonna show up, and we don't want that. All like these scratches here. So if we hit it with guide coat one more time, then we'll sand it with 220. Same thing, we're just sanding until the guide coat goes away. If there's any heavy scratches, the guide coat will stay. So you just keep sanding that area until the guide coat is gone, or until you hit bare metal. Like I had a low spot right here. It pretty much came out. It came out, I think it'll be good enough. If it was black, I'd probably hit it one more time. But because we're going a light color, it'll be fine. But when you hit bare metal like that, stop. Like we still got a couple pits right there. If I was to keep sanding this until those pits went away, when we hit the metal's not gonna sand anymore. That's it, you've hit the bottom. So if you keep sanding this to sand those pits out, you're just sanding a low spot back in there. This is like level 0 right here, and you need to build everything up to that point. But because it's going a light color, like I said, I'm not worried about it. If this was going black, or if we were building a show car, I would probably spray it one more time with some polyester surfacer and then block sand it one more time. But like I said, it's good enough for what we're doing. So we'll hit it
with guide coat, then we'll do 220, then we'll hit it again with guide coat, 320, 400, maybe 600. I don't know, I might cheat and just leave it in 400. We'll see how ambitious I get.
Ryan Isherwood, I don't know if you're watching this, but if you are, you'll be proud of me. I took this all the way to 600 grit. It is sanded to 600. I just wiped it off with some wax and grease remover, and that means that it is ready to spray again. We're gonna hit it with a couple coats of sealer. Sealer is, just another step in the primer surface. And what that's gonna do is these little areas that are bare metal and stuff, got a little bit of body filler showing through there. It's gonna give it all one uniform coat and seal everything in there so that this is sealed, as well as, like I said, providing a uniform finish for everything so that when we put the paint on, it's got a nice even, like it's not gonna be paint going over gray and then bare metal and then a little bit of yellow. It's all gonna go over the same color so that nothing shows through from the backside. Unfortunately, it has started raining. It started raining about a half an hour ago. It's part of why I went all the way to 600 grit. It's because when I was at 400, it was, what else am I gonna do? I might as well keep going. So I don't want to spray inside the shop because I don't want fumes in here, as well as I don't want overspray on everybody's stuff. So I do all my spraying outside. It's supposed to be sunny tomorrow, so maybe we'll give it a shot. We need, a couple hour window to do our sealer, our paint, and then our clear coat. 3 steps, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Sunday morning, time for sealer. All right, well, it was sunny this morning. It's cloudy now, but that's fine. We're gonna mix up our sealer now. So this primer, you can mix it up as a high build primer or as a sealer. The only difference is the mix ratio. For high build, you just want 4:1, meaning 4 parts primer to 1 part activator. Oh man, I gotta find my little thing. For sealer, yeah, this guy. For sealer, you want 4 parts primer, 1 part hardener, and then 1 part reducer, and that just thins it out. And that's what we're gonna mix, because we don't need any more build, we just need 1 uniform coat. So we're gonna go on our mix cup, and it's got a 4:1 ratio. So no matter what you fill it up to, say, we only want this much, fill it up to the 2, fill it up to the 2, and fill it up to the 2. And as long as you stay on those numbers, your ratios will stay fine. We don't need a lot, so we're probably gonna use the number 2s on here. We can always mix more if we need to. All right, 2 parts primer to 1 part activator. This is what actually makes it hard. The reducer just thins it out to make it easier to spray. And there we go. Just makes it easier to spray and lay out a little flatter, and then the reducer evaporates. But that's the magic stuff that actually makes it harden up. We won't close that up yet until we're done, just in case we do have to mix up more. This is medium temperature reducer. Should probably use low temperature reducer because it is chilly outside, but we don't have any, so. All right. Let's grab another stir stick. We'll mix this up, dump it in the gun, and I'll meet you guys outside. So just like before, we're going to do the first coat nice and light, let it tack up for a minute, and then we can put the second coat on a little heavier. I've got our base coat on the paint mixer now, and I've went ahead and cleaned our paint gun out so it's all nice and clean inside. We'll get ready to mix up the base coat now. So the sealer, by the time you spray it and clean your paint gun out, you should wait, I don't know, 20 minutes or so for it to set up. It might give it a little bit longer just because it's chilly outside. I have actually brought it back inside just so that it can stay nice and warm while it's flashing. Flashing is what they call it when it's like just starting to dry. You can see how it's like still shiny now, but it's starting to get some dull spots in it. When the whole thing has the dull finish on it, that means you're ready to spray your base coat. Right now it's still too fresh, and if you spray your base coat over top of that, the two liquids are just gonna blend together and it's gonna totally mess with your color. So we'll let it sit for like a half an hour. We're gonna mix our base coat up now. So this is Challenger base. Never used it before, this is the first time. It just mixes 1-to-1 with straight reducer. Doesn't use any catalyst or hardener or anything, so I'm assuming that the hardener from the clear coat is what kicks this off and makes it harden. Total assumption, no, I don't know. All right, so because it's 1-to-1, we can just go to, there's no 1-to-1 on there, is there? No. Well, we'll just use any of these, and if we go 1-to-1, I mean, we can just go to the 1 with paint and then go to the 2 with our reducer. Just took this off the paint shaker. There we go. Here's the color that I got picked out. Because I know a lot of people gave me their opinions on the blue that I put on the grill shell. That was just a random rattle can that I found at the hardware store one day, and it was just an experiment. So this color is, there's this picture of a 32 Ford sedan that's very similar to what I have in mind for this car. It's not chopped, but you know, other than that, it's very similar to what I got in mind. So I took that picture to the paint store, and we literally just laid paint chips on top of the photo until we found one that was somewhat close. And it is an OEM color. It came up as like a match to a, I think it says on the can somewhere, Mitsubishi or something like that. Which is also cool because then it's like easy to get a paint match. So Jim and Buck over at Rondex, they just gave this to me as a sample, so I didn't even have to pay for it. And if I like it, then we can go get some more made up to do the entire car. But for now, I figured let's try the dash. Huh? Ooh, very excited. All right, I'm dump this in the paint gun. And then, just like before, I'll meet you guys outside.
Same as before, we're just going to do a light coat followed by a heavier coat after. There we have it, all shiny. The clear laid out really, really nice. There's no dry spray, we got minimal orange peel, and most importantly, we got no runs. So it's still tacky. It's been about a half an hour or so since I sprayed it. So we'll just let it sit. It's New Year's Eve right now. So we might as well just let this hang out overnight, and I'll come back next year, being tomorrow, and maybe put it back in the car. See how it fits. I'm really happy with it though. I think I like this color. When I first sprayed it out, I was like, I don't know, it's a little more blue, not enough silver, but I think it'll be okay. Especially with the gold and the pearl white for the interior. It's gonna be good. So before we put the dash back in the car, we gotta clean this little ring up. This goes around the gauge bezel cluster opening. It's pretty crunchy in here, full of rust and stuff. So I just did a little test in the wire wheel here, and it cleans up really nice. So I'm gonna run this all the way around through there and clean all this gunk out of it. And I'm pretty sure this is stainless, so maybe we'll run it through the buffing wheel next. Clean it up a little bit, see how it looks. I put a little bit of epoxy on here just to hold it in place. So we're gonna let that cure. It takes 4 to 6 hours before we can mess around with this. Then once that's cured, hopefully we can put this in the car and see what it looks like. So while that cures, we're gonna go on a little cruise. The Victoria Vintage Car Club does their annual New Year's Day cruise. So I'm gonna take the Roadster. Shannon and Lux are taking the Meteor. We'll go cruise around for the afternoon and then come back and finish the dash off. All right, well, we're back from a glorious afternoon of driving around in the Roadster. Pretty sure I blew a head gasket because every time I give her the onions, she just spews out of here, and it's coming out of everywhere. But you know what? That's not our problem right now, because we got a dash to put back together. So this is all cured now. That was just JB weld that I used to hold that in there. So let's see what it looks like in there. Are you excited? I'm excited. Right. So I'm not going to put it in completely because my gauges, I think, are going to be here tomorrow. And that's kind of the next step on my list. So we'll just put it in loosely. There it is. Wow. It's perfect. It's like exactly what I had in mind. You know, this shift knob even like goes with the buttons. Obviously the steering wheel is not going to stay brown,
two-tone brown, so we'll probably do it something that complements the dash as well.
But I think that blue goes really nice with the pearl white
and the gold buttons.
All right, this car is one step closer to driving down the road now.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm super happy with how this turned out.
It's a nice view to look at. So, like I mentioned, I think the next step on this car is I should have the gauges here next week. Probably tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, because they're on an order with a bunch of parts for the 50 Fargo build that I'm waiting for. So once we get all the gauges here, we're gonna redo this. This is kind of the stock bezel, but someone has gone in there with some tin snips and opened it all up a lot. So I'm gonna try to fit 4 gauges in there, and I think it'll work. I might make it, to go with that late 50s, early 60s thing. Maybe asymmetrical. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge in the next video. So we're gonna call this video here. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think on this dash project. I think it turned out really good. I'm happy with it. So for start to finish, this dash, if you include when we did the metal work on it, that was 7 days. I've got 7 days worth of labor into this, so it takes a long time to do stuff like this. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the website, lgspeedcustom.com, and we'll see you guys on the next video. I guess I should order some head gaskets for the Roadster.